What is good, YouTube? Matty Dubs here, back with another video, guys. We have some more breaking news, notes, highlights, and observations from another day here in New York for, Giants training camp. This was another exciting day here for the Giants. A lot learned, a lot of things to take note of, and they're continuing to get better, continuing to build chemistry with some of the new guys on this roster, including Darren Waller, John Michael Schmitz, and a bunch of these newer receivers in Jalin Hyatt. A couple of cornerbacks on this roster are really starting to stand out. But in this video, I'm going to break down everything just so you guys know what is going on here going into the next day of training camp here for the Giants, keeping you guys up to date with everything you guys need to know. Before we get into that, though, do me a quick little favor and smash that like button really quickly. It helps get the video out to all the Giants fans. So make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe for more content just like this. I'm going to be covering free agency, the whole offseason, signings, trades, training camp, preseason, regular season, and we're going to be live streaming almost every single Sunday, watching some Giants games and other games as well. So make sure you guys join the family. And with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, the one thing to know is the offensive line is looking pretty complete for the most part. There's a couple of guys who appear to be locks on the offensive line to be, starters going into the season. Now, obviously, Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal are considered to be, the franchise tackles. Those are your 1 and 2 best offensive linemen right there. And then you move into a guy like Mark Glowinski, who seems like he's at least going to be a starting guard. It looks like the starting right guard position is where he's going to play or spend the most of his time. But also it looks like the guy who's going to win the number 4 job, maybe at center, maybe guard, but most likely center. Looks like rookie center John Michael Schmitz is going to be the 4th one to most likely emerge for that, starting role going forward. But then that leaves the left guard position up for grabs. And there's a couple of guys who have been rotating in, including Bredesen and Joshua Ezeudu. You got Tyree Phillips. So there's so many guys that can win this left guard spot. And that's probably the one thing to really note here going into the next few days here. Who's going to get that left guard spot? Who is going to be the starter at that position during the start of this season? But this is what training camp's for, man. It's when people lose and win their jobs and stand out and break out, and this is what training camp is for. So that's the offensive line. Let's move into the wide receivers. Now, there's been a couple of guys who have been so good throughout training camp. They seem to be pretty much locks to make the roster. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I'm speculating, but the locks on the roster for wide receiver, in my opinion, are Isaiah Hodgins. I think he's a lock. I think Jalin Hyatt, you draft him so early, he's a lock. Paris Campbell, they just brought over. He's been looking really good. Lock. Darius Slayton, I would say they re-signed him for a reason. I think he is almost a lock, but maybe not a guarantee. It's very close in my opinion, but I do think he will be here come the start of the season. And that's 4 guys right there. That leaves about maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 openings on the roster. With guys like Sterling Shepard, who I think is probably going to make the team if he can stay healthy. You got Jamison Crowder. You got Cole Beasley, David Sills, Colin Johnson, Khalil Pimpleton. You got Bryce Ford Wheaton, Wan'Dale Robinson, who is on the PUP list. So there's a bunch of, obviously Wan'Dale is going to make the team too, so he's probably a lock as well that I missed out. But who do you guys think are the other 2 or 3 wide receivers that could potentially make this roster? I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. There's so many good wide receivers on this roster, which pretty much the opposite of what they had last season. So I'm excited to see how these guys continue to develop. There's been some injuries in camp, nothing huge. Interior offensive lineman J.C. Hausenauer, he's been a little bit injured, so we'll see. We'll continue to see how he does. Darren Waller and defensive end Leonard Williams have been getting rest drills. I wouldn't say they're necessarily injuries, but they've been getting some rest days. And we all know how good Darren Waller is and how good he's been over camp. So they're just trying to be very cautious with him going forward. But things are starting to get very interesting in terms of, some of the lineups. Now, there's been a lot of shuffling at the cornerback position, the guard position between all of those, battles in camp so far. And, some guys that are interesting is Cordell Flott being in the slot for the 2nd day in a row. You got Dory Jackson playing a few snaps in the slot as well. So it seems to me like they're really trying to figure out who are going to be the boundary corners and who's going to play in the slot. Trey Hawkins is a guy who looked pretty good. You got Jason Pinnock, who worked at safety for the last couple of days. I think he's primarily a corner, but now he's playing a little bit of safety. So you got that. You got Darnay Holmes, who's playing a little bit of a slot corner as well. So things are starting to get very, very interesting. I know they're lining up Darren Waller in multiple different positions at wide receiver, at tight end. They're putting him in a lot of different spots as well. And with him on the offense, with him here healthy, the offense is absolutely scary. So they just need to continue to build this chemistry with each other. I think this offense has the potential to be insanely good, especially since Saquon is back. That was one thing that was a little bit nerve-wracking to me if Saquon was going to be here, but he did re-sign at least a one-year deal. So we'll see what happens with that. Also to note, Deonte Banks has continued to struggle over the last couple of days. I do expect him to really ramp it up and continue to grow as a player over the next few days at camp. I guess we can just hope. And then the rookie cornerback Trey Hawkins, like I said before, has been absolutely amazing throughout camp so far. So hopefully he can continue that, and maybe, who knows, maybe he can earn a big contributor role on this offense going forward. But with that being said, guys, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family, turn on post notifications, check out Underdog Fantasy in this next segment if you want to play in some fantasy leagues with me throughout the season. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Today's video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. And if you love playing fantasy sports like football, basketball, baseball, and so many other sports, but also love being able to win money, you're going to want to stick around for this whole segment. Introducing Underdog Fantasy, the ultimate platform for fantasy sports lovers. Do you want to experience the thrill of drafting your team and competing for huge prizes? Well, look no further. With Underdog Fantasy, you get access to a wide range of fantasy sports, including football, basketball, baseball, and so much more. But here's what makes Underdog Fantasy stand out from all of those other apps. They've got quick and user-friendly drafting process, a unique and exciting game formats, fair and competitive contests for all skill levels, and attractive bonuses and promotions. Not only can you draft teams and compete with others, but you can also play a game of higher and lower, which is personally my favorite thing to do on there, but you can potentially win 20 times the money you put down. And if you use code MattyDubs when you sign up, Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. And what that means is basically when you deposit, let's say $100, they'll give you a free $100 to use and play with. Click the link in the description to get started, or head to the website right now to start dominating the fantasy world. And don't miss out on all the fun. Be a part of the Underdog community starting now. And don't forget, if you use code MattyDubs, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Let's get started. Get into drafts with me starting today.